The galactic archive hummed with ancient power as Gianna stood before the crystalline display, her fingers trembling over the controls. Around her, representatives from 17 different species crowded the observation deck, their various appendages, sensory organs, and translation devices all focused on the historical footage about to play. "This is unprecedented," chittered Ambassador Zelthor, his compound eyes reflecting the blue light of the archive. "Precursor combat footage, actual recordings from the Great Silence War 10,000 years ago." Leonardo leaned against the back wall, arms crossed, his face carefully neutral. He'd been quiet since they'd arrived at the archaeological site on Kepler 442b, ever since the excavation team had uncovered the data repository buried beneath 2 miles of sediment and time. The Precursors, that's what the galaxy called them. The mysterious warrior race that had defended the younger species from the consuming swarm millennia ago, then vanished without explanation. Every species had legends about them. The Zenthari told stories of golden gods who fell from the sky. The Kritesh sang ballads of the silent guardians who asked for nothing in return. "Playing footage now," Gianna announced, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. The holographic display erupted into 3-dimensional life. A battle scene materialized, the black void of space illuminated by weapons fire, ships twisting through impossible maneuvers. And there, at the center of it all, a single fighter craft. The crowd gasped collectively. The fighter was brutish compared to modern vessels, held together with what appeared to be rivets and welded plates. Primitive propulsion systems blazed inefficiently. Its weapons were ballistic, actual projectiles launched through chemical reactions. No plasma, no antimatter, no quantum disruptors. "By the ancestors," whispered the Eldarian observer. "How did they survive with such technology?" But survive they did. The footage showed the Precursor Fighter, now clearly marked with faded letters reading UNSC Phoenix, tearing through swarm vessels with brutal efficiency. The pilot flew with reckless abandon, taking hits that should have been fatal, pulling G-forces that would have liquefied most species. Then the audio kicked in. "Yeah! How do you like that, you ugly—" A young male voice, cracking with adrenaline and fear, screamed through the speakers. Oh God, they're on my 6, someone get them off me!" Leonardo's hand shot out. "Mute the audio." Gianna's finger hesitated over the control. "Leonardo?" "Mute it," he repeated, his voice tight. "I sounded awful back then." The room fell into a silence deeper than space itself. 17 pairs of alien eyes turned to the human leaning against the wall. Ambassador Xelthor's antennae drooped in confusion. The Eldarian's crystalline form flickered with incomprehension. "You—" Gianna's voice was barely a whisper. "That was you?" Leonardo pushed off from the wall, walking slowly toward the display where his younger self continued to fight in silent footage. His hair was grayer now, his frame more solid, but there was no mistaking the same sharp jawline, the same intense eyes. "That's impossible," Zelthor stammered. "The Precursors disappeared 10,000 years ago. Humans only achieved spaceflight 300 years ago when we made first contact." "Yeah," Leonardo said softly, watching his younger self narrowly avoid a collision. "That's what we let you think." The implications crashed through the room like a shockwave. "We didn't disappear," Leonardo continued, his gaze never leaving the footage. "We went home, back to Earth, back to Sol System. We closed our borders, locked down every jump point, erased what records we could." "But why?" Gianna demanded, her scientific mind reeling. "You saved the galaxy! You stopped the swarm!" Leonardo finally turned to face them all. "Because we looked at what we'd become. What war had turned us into." He gestured at the display where his younger self was screaming silent obscenities. "Firing weapons with abandon, taking insane risks. We were kids, Gianna. Teenagers strapped into death machines because we bred fast and adapted faster. We were 20 years old and we'd seen 1,000 friends die. We were efficient. We were terrifying. He paused, his jaw working. We were monsters. The Zenthari delegate made a sound of protest. You were heroes. We were both, Leonardo said quietly. And when the swarm was finally destroyed, when we looked at what we'd become to beat them, we decided the galaxy was better off thinking we were gone. Better off without humans who could become that again. So you hid, Zelthor said slowly. Regressed your technology? Pretended to be primitive when we discovered you? We chose peace, Leonardo corrected. We chose to forget how to be weapons. It took us 9,000 years. But we did it. We rebuilt our civilization around art, science, philosophy. We made ourselves softer, better. Gianna stared at him. This man she'd worked with for 5 years, this colleague who brought coffee every morning and made terrible jokes during long expeditions. The entire time? First contact, the cultural exchange, joining the Galactic Council, all of it was a lie? Not a lie, Leonardo said, and for the first time he smiled, sad and genuine. A choice. We chose to be the humans who make friends, not war, who explore, not conquer, who help, not hurt. He looked back at his younger self on the display. That kid up there? He was brave. He was necessary, but I'm glad he's gone. The room remained silent as the footage continued playing. A lone human fighter, primitive and powerful, holding the line against impossible odds. So what happens now? Zelthor finally asked. Now that we know? Leonardo shrugged, that very human gesture that the galaxy had grown accustomed to. Now? Nothing. We're not those precursors anymore. We don't want to be. He glanced at Gianna. But maybe it's okay to remember that we were. Not as a threat. As a reminder. A reminder of what? That humans chose to change. That anyone can. Gianna studied his face, then slowly reached out and unmuted the audio. The younger Leonardo's voice filled the archive again, terrified, determined, very much alive. Make it home. I'm going to adopt the biggest dog I can find and name it Pancake and... Despite everything, Gianna laughed. Pancake? Leonardo's ears reddened. I was 19 and hadn't slept in 3 days. Cut me some slack. And somehow, in that moment, the terrifying precursor and the coffee-bringing colleague merged into one complete picture. Human, in all its complexity. The galaxy watched and perhaps finally understood.